adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio. And once again, we have one of my favorite expert guests on this segment, Positively Pipeman, here every Monday. And man, if you have a business, you need to listen to Michael Barbarita because he has a wealth of advice and strategies that are specific to your industry, your business. And on today's show, he's going to talk to us about the conversion formula. Now, I happen to love algebra and was very good at it, so I like formulas. Okay. So, but there's probably a lot of you say, oh, I didn't like algebra. Or I love the people that said, hey, I'm never going to have to use algebra in my life. I don't agree with that. I don't know if this is algebra, but this is the conversion formula for success in your business. So take it away, Michael.
Thank you very much, Dean. Thank you again for having me. When we were doing research for our book, nothing resonated with us in terms of helping the business owner improve their messaging. We were researching all over the place. We had to go all the way back to 1931.
Wow.
And we found something that finally resonated with us that we could work with. And it was what we found is that it was stated that the keys to successful marketing is that you have to get into the mind of the conversation that's taking place in the mind of the customer. Now, that's easier said than done. But the point is that that's what resonated with us. And it also, to expand on it further, to enter that conversation that's taking place in the mind of the prospect, it's based on two emotional issues. Number one is the problem they have, that the customer has, that they don't want. They have got this problem, they don't want it, they want to get rid of it. And two, the solution that they want that they can't find. So the problem that the customer has and doesn't want, the solution they want, they can't find. That's how you can enter the conversation that's taking place in the mind of the customer. So what we did is we took it one step further and we created what is called the conversion formula. Now, the conversion formula is a 4-step formula that converts prospects into whether it's prospects into your sales process or prospects into your closing process. It works the same way, but it is a conversion technique and it's a messaging strategy, which is, in my view, one of the most important things is messaging, not what platform you're on and all that. So the formula is a 4-part formula. It needs to be done in the right order, otherwise it doesn't work. Like any other formula. And it's, if you have water is H2O, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. If I give you 1 part hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, you don't have, I don't know what you have, but you don't have water.
No.
So the formula has to be followed in the exact order. And the formula starts with what we call captivate. And captivate is that problem that the customer has and doesn't want. It's that emotional first hot button. It's a headline, or it's the first thing that you say in your networking group. It's the first thing that your customer comes in, or prospect comes in contact with when they come in contact with your company. So it's that first thing. Second step of the formula is called fascinate. And that's the solution they want that they can't find. So you captivate them with the problem, you fascinate them with the solution. And then the third step is what we call educate. You see, because you use those 2 emotional hot buttons, the problem they have, they don't want, the solution they want, they can't find. Now you got their attention.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get people's attention. But once you utilize those 2 emotional hot buttons and you do it correctly, you now have their attention where you can actually explain why your solution to that problem is superior to the competition. And if you look at the first three parts of the conversion formula, and if you understand that people buy based on emotion and then back up that emotion logically, the first two components are the emotional components, the captivate, fascinate, problem, and solution. The third is the logical component where you educate them on why your product is superior to your solution is superior to the competition. So the conversion formula follows the way people buy based on emotion and backed up logically.
Yeah.
And then finally, you hit them with the offer. And the offer needs to be very compelling. And I know that we're going to be covering the compelling offer in a future show, I think the next show. But that is where, it's easy for me to say a compelling offer, but we have 5 components to a compelling offer that we'll talk about in another show. But I wanted to focus strictly on the conversion formula. So that's our conversion formula. And this is what we use on squeeze every form of communication, and including your incoming voicemail.
So what made you come up with this formula? Like what studies did you find out that told you these are the components that are necessary?
Well, it was a potpourri of studies, but here's the thing. What we set out to do is find a way, what we think is a relatively easy to understand way of explaining to the business owner the importance of messaging, and here's how you do it. That, I think, was really, that's the crux of it. We went deep into a lot of, and like I said, I had to go back to 1931. I couldn't find anything that resonated.
Wow.
With our thought process of trying to help a business owner understand that messaging is the critical component, and how would they go about messaging? Is there a simple way to do it? And that's where we came up with the conversion formula. And
how many people do you run into in your career that really don't even know what their messaging is?
What we found, Dean, is that 95% of business and financial strategies used today are identical to your competition, and they don't work. So to answer your question, 95%. It's a very true and accurate number. And if you look at, if anybody who's listening owns a business and they go to their competitor's website, they're going to see the same stuff that they're doing. Same stuff. Great quality, lowest price, great location, great experience. We're family owned, all that stuff that the customer really doesn't care about. They care about solving their problem.
Yeah, no, and it's funny you should say that, because it amazes me how many people are the number one best bookseller.
I know. Have you noticed that? I've noticed that the other day.
I have not met, and I've dealt with lots of authors through the years.
Right.
I've never met an author that's not a number one best book and bestseller. It like boggles my mind how everybody's number one, and I see it in this industry too. It's like people that claim like they're the number one podcaster, and like, according to who? Your wife or your husband, or and like, because they don't have anything. And what's interesting about that, I used to see it in the financial business too. I would pick these money managers that were ranked number one for like the past 14 years. The minute I put my clients' money in, they lost money, but they never lost money before. And I was always, even in that business where it's regulated, it's like, how do people get away with that stuff? And what I found, okay, this is going to be interesting if you didn't know already, but in the investment business, there's actually a term that allows you to fluff it a little bit, and that's called puffery. And puffery is not against regulations.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, if you give so if you give something that's not factual, okay, that's against regulations. But some things can be subjective, so they're puffery. Or if you add, okay, this is something you can do. You can add, in my opinion. As soon as you add, in my opinion, it's like you didn't just give a fact anymore. It's just, even here when we're doing podcasting, okay, it's interesting. So YouTube is very strict on what people say that may be untrue, unfactual, violates certain things. And so basically, when you read on YouTube how to avoid getting strikes or getting your stuff taken down, one of the big things it says is, we won't take it down if it's your personal experience, your story, or in your opinion. And it's all over like that. So yeah, everybody in your industry is probably saying they're the number one bug killer,
Right.
the number one car dealership, and maybe in some survey somewhere they are, and that's how they
Right.
get away with it. You know, it's like, but I think we have to dig deeper than that, and the uniqueness, like you said. See, the fact is if you're entering an industry and you're doing exactly the same as your competition, why do the people at your competition need to come to you if you're doing exactly the same? They don't.
That's right. That's right. And quick question before I add to that. The word "could" in the investment world, like, you could make 100,000. Is that allowed? It seems to be allowed too, right?
It is allowed as long as you balance it with risk. So it always used to be like this. Okay, so you invest 10,000 with me right now. If this does this, you could make this.
Okay.
So you're adding these variables if it does this, okay? But then you also in that business have to go to the other side and say, but understand that, you know, without risk there is no reward, and so you could also lose your money, you know. But going back to one of your steps, the offer. This applies to financial business totally because I did it a million times. Okay. So if I could tell you that you could risk $10,000, and you might lose it all, but you wouldn't lose more than 10,000. But
right.
If this did this, you could make 50,000. Would it be worth it to you to risk the 10,000 to make the 50,000? They'd say yes. Great. Let's get started. And basically, you know, what you're saying to them is you're making a much better offer that is tempting to them. That doesn't necessarily have to be, it's factual if the if happens, but whether that if happens. Now, and you never know too, because you look at gold right now. I had people in gold at $150 an ounce. Yeah. Would I have ever believed in a million years it would be at $3,300 an ounce? Never in a million years. I was like, I remember it was like 52 was the all-time high, and that's because the Hunt brothers cornered the market. And so I used to pitch that. But I'm like, but it's never going to get to 52 because that was an anomaly. But I'm sure you'd agree that from between 150 and 50, or not 52, that was silver, gold. 800 ounce, you know, between, you know, 150 and 800, I'm sure you'd agree that you'd have a pretty good chance of making money, right? You know, stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's interesting. Like, you make the offer has to definitely outweigh the risk is the first thing I think of.
Right. Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that we do, Dean, is inside reality versus outside perception. The inside reality of most companies is that they're fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. And that they really do some really great things. But the outside perception is they're just like everyone else because of their messaging.
Yeah. You know how I prove that one, by the way?
Go ahead.
People that want to be a guest on your show or my show or any show on this network. Because when I get guest requests, I say, so why should you be on my show? And the number one answer, survey said, is because I have great content. Do you know what my response to them when they say that is?
So does everybody else.
Yep. I'm like, so do 8 million other podcasters. Now what do you got? And That's where they need your help, because they can't answer that second question because they're so focused on they have great content.
Right. And, believe it or not, where I really noticed, where this really woke me up, the inside reality versus the outside perception, is in the food business. You would be amazed if you went to a food show. You would be amazed at the deliciousness of all these unknown food brands. It's unbelievable. Okay, right. Unbelievable. The greatest sausage in the world is not in your grocery stores. It's in these small little mom and pop companies. And when I said, man, the inside reality there is that they got something fantastic, but the outside perception is they're like every other sausage or whatever.
Exactly. 100%. So how do people reach out to you to find out more about this aspect of it, and basically how they can talk to you to strategize for them to have the things that they need in their business? In other words, present you with the problem and you help them find the solution.
Excellent. Yes. So what we do, Dean, is a little different than most. We help, we ask people to participate in a book interview, because we're always updating our book, because business is always changing. A couple of months ago, we were talking about high interest rates and inflation, and we still are to a degree, but we're also adding tariffs to the mix. So because of that, we believe our strategies work in any economic environment, but we'd like to constantly get industry information to prove what we already know. Yeah. So we ask people I'd love to interview any business owners that's listening for the next edition of my book. Just go to nextstepcfo.net/contact and fill out the contact form. And in the message section, just put book interview, and I'll send you a calendar link. And the way the book interview goes is it's 60 minutes on Zoom. I present strategies for my book. I ask you what impact that strategy would have for business owners who would implement it in your industry, mostly an industry perspective. And then I document it for the book, and that's it. And I promise you this, you'll learn business and financial strategies through that book interview that your competition isn't doing.
I love it. I love it. And you even have a free, the current version of the book, free to download for people, and free advice on your podcast, radio show. Tell everybody about that and how to connect.
NextStepCFO.net to download the book. It's free. Also, my podcast is sitting at powerfulbusinessstrategies.com, and our show is on Mondays at noon Eastern on WC4Y.com. And my co-host and I, Chucky Obio, run that show.
And I'm going to add something, because you did, when I go and I interview like rock stars and I have them do a station ID, they do something you just did.
What's that?
It's W4CY.com.
That's right.
You said WC4Y, which a lot of people
I did.
You did.
I did. I transfer. See, I'm dyslexic.
Everybody does it, and but I think now people are paying attention more, and they're definitely going to go to W4CY.com for your show, the same place they are right now, so they'll remember it. Well, thanks again for a great episode, a great talk, and thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Love to be here.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.